Hello and welcome to my week 2 journal. My name is Jacob Duke, and I'm excited to talk to you about everything I've been learning this week in the classroom. And there's a lot to talk about, so we're going to go quickly through this. So, to start off, the three stages of lesson planning is one, the before lesson phase, two, the during lesson phase, and three, the after lesson phase. So, the before lesson phase is when the teacher guides students through questioning as students learn to understand the problem ahead of them. The during lesson phase is when teachers walk around the room and help students as they try to figure out the problem, explain how they should solve it. Sorry, there's a trash truck coming in, so I'm closing that real quick. Sorry about that. And the after lesson phase is teachers helps with full group discussion. Students discuss and make connections between how they solved the problem and what they have been learning. So this, how this looks like in a classroom is, let's say the teacher is teaching the students how to find, let's say, how to find the square footage of a house. And so, what happens at the very beginning lesson is the teachers and the students might be having a discussion about, uh, well, what type of problems, like what type of things do you need to know to find the square footage? Uh, how do you calculate some difficult parts of a house? Things like that. And so the teacher usually try to guide the students through questioning and have them to kind of understand and start thinking like, oh, maybe this is how I want to solve the problem. Maybe this is how I want to do it. The during lesson phase is basically the teacher walks in the room and is just assisting students as need be as the students actually try to solve the things themselves. And it's very important that students just don't solve it and then just let be. Like they need to be able to be able to explain how they solved it because they might not know and they just might be doing it just to try it out. So really having them be able to understand and explain how they solved it, how they found something. In the after lesson phase, essentially the teacher just has a discussion with the whole class about, maybe some connections they had from what they've been learning in the past and how that can be seen in real life, as well as maybe things along the lines of, oh, I had this problem. I didn't know this, and oh, this makes sense. This is how I solved it. Oh, maybe I solved it differently than you, and oh, how do we get the same answer? Things like that. So just trying to really just get the class thinking about what they've learned and how they can use it and implement it in different ways. The four steps of problem solving. One is understand the problem, devise a plan, carry out the plan, and then look back. So understanding the problem, very simple, is really trying to figure out specifically what is needed to solve the problem. What maybe equation, what is the solution we're looking for, things like that. Devising a plan is really trying to figure out uh, what way you're going to attempt to solve the problem. Carrying out the plan is you just try to use that solution you came up with and see if it works. And then looking back is you evaluate to see if you got the correct solution. And if you're wrong, maybe you need to go back to number two to devise a new plan, or maybe you need to go back to number one, which is understanding the problem to make sure you really understand what is the problem of it and what you need to solve for. Okay, clues for solving word problems. I watched the videos that they had that you had provided for us, and I thought they did a really good job at one discussing. They all saw this common problem they had with their students, but how they didn't really even look at the word problems. They just saw two numbers, and they said, "Hey, in the past we saw two numbers. We have them together. We're good." And they were talking about how this is actually not the case because the problem's actually asking for other things, and they're trying to discuss how they're actually going to be able to go over that. So they did a really good job at clearly stating the problem and then discussing the evidence they've seen in their own classrooms. They bring up, their own students, uh, what happens, so on, so on. Each teacher proposed different solutions and strategies that might work to solve the problems. They gave each other feedback and they were helping each other out. And then the way they decided to actually set up the lesson was having the students become detectives in sort of way and be able to look at how other people solve their problems. And they were discussing whether the people did it correctly or incorrectly. Uh, and they did this because they thought the students would be able to take this like this idea of being a detective, and it would help them be able to look at their own word problems and make sure that they're solving for the right thing and that they did everything correctly. So I thought that they did a really good job of that, and it was fantastic. And then the smarter balance sampler for task for third grade, I focused on clay number two, and for this one, it was all about this person. He had a certain amount of tiles that each fit a certain area, and he wanted to fill a closet which was a certain area with these tiles. And so, one, students needed to know how to find an area of a square because it used that quite a bit actually throughout that lesson. Two, order of operations because For some of the areas they needed to find, they had one that was set up like 5 times, and then in parentheses it was, I think it was like 9 plus 3. So it needed students to know how to do order of operations as well as problem solving, because it went beyond just just here's this, solve for this. It went beyond that, so they had to really problem solve and think, what equation do I need to use? How do I solve for this? What am I looking for? So it was a pretty tough lesson they had there, but I thought the DOK level that they suggested was really good. It was at a 3. So I actually agreed that that was correct, because it did more than just have students know what an equation is. It did more than that. It did more than just having students use that equation. It made students have to recall back on a lot of different things that they've been learning and try to really figure out, mix and match which ones to use where and how to do it, because it starts off with one closet, and they had to figure out the leftover amount of bricks, and they had to figure out, oh, can they use the leftover tiles to do a whole other thing. And so they had to really figure out, like, man, am I doing addition, subtraction? Am I finding for an area? Am I multiplying, dividing? It really challenged the students to really look at it from multiple different areas and angles. So I think that it was a good call to put it at a 3. But overall, yeah, this was my journal, and thank you for listening to me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.